Hi, it's Naylan and welcome to Nalitech Studio. If you are new to this channel, I recommend that you subscribe below, hit the like button, and let's get started with this video. So first, here is our floor plan for this gazebo that you have seen at the intro. We are going to need to create some things that we are going to work with in Photoshop. So let's get the marquee tool, mark you around the area that we want to export. Right click and create a new 3D document. So in here we can name this, I think, floor plan, create it. So first, this is what we have, which is okay, but we may need to change a few things. So right click on this tab and then go to the settings of this thing. So the very first thing that I would like to change is to go to the floor plan, and maybe the cutting plane is a bit too low, maybe about to 1.2 will work. And we can also show the stories below. So in the model display, we can override the cut surface because we wanted to keep it simple with just black to keep them simple. The uncut surfaces, there are so many pens. We have green, we have blue. So let's also override just the uncut pen. We can choose a black one. And I think I may choose a 0.35 thick. I think I'm going to keep everything else the way it is, and I'll say okay. So this is the first flat drawing that I need, and this is going to help us when we want to put in textures in Photoshop, where we will have a flat color here, flat color there, that will be easy to select. So let's export this, and in order to export it, you need to come to the layout book. For those who haven't used this before, all I need you to do is just create a new layout, and we are going to use A4, and we can put in our floor plan, and this is what we have. In case for you, you're seeing some things here, you might need to come in here in the master of that for A4 and delete them, because by default you have a few things that are in those layouts, like this title block, which you can delete because we are not going to use it today. In the floor plan here, so I am going to mark you this thing, Alt F7, in order to export it to the layout. Selecting it, I go to settings by Ctrl T, and I'm going to change this to 1 to 50 because I need it twice as big, and remove this title thing. Just keep it simple, no title. So let's try and scale it down, this side and this side too. So let's try to position it, drag it here, make it fit. This will do. So let's save it. So press Ctrl Shift S. We can decide where to put it. I'm naming base floor plan. Just make sure that everything else is fine, and make sure it is on color, and save it. So the next thing that I need is a drawing that has shadows in this plan. So right click and go back to the settings, and this time we are going to enable shadows. So we turn that on. And now in this one, we just need only the shadows, so we don't need all these colors. We can just make everything a uniform color, and I think I'll make it a background color, just white. We can choose the shadows to be about 50% is good. It's not harsh, it's not so faint. And then we have this nice drawing. So when we go back to the layout, it updates and we have this. And this is important because we want the shadows to be at the same scale as the base color that we have selected, because we don't want to fidget around in Photoshop trying to match them. Alright, so Ctrl Shift S to save, and I'll name it plan shadows. Yep. Check, and this one we can make it black and white, and everything else is fine. We say save. So back here in Photoshop, we bring up this menu and I have attached the assets and the floor plans that we shall be using in the description below. So if you want, you can download them to follow along. We will get our base floor plan, drop it in. We can say OK to this menu and we have imported it in. Also, we will get our plan shadows and drop it in here. Same file, we say OK. Click here OK to place it. If I try to decrease the opacity of this layer, you can see that we are seeing what's beneath it. And it's perfectly together because we chose the same scale for the plan which is beneath and the plan which is above. So it's important that you keep them the same scale so you don't have to hassle making them overlap each other. All right, so let's hide this one for a sec and begin to work on the base layer. I think the best thing is to first chop off this transparent layer so we can hit C or get the crop tool in order to decide what size of canvas we want to be working with. I think all we need is to chop off this stuff that is transparent and we say OK. So let's begin affecting one by one. We want to put a texture over this floor. So let's press W to bring the, of course you need to make sure that the layer 1 is selected. Press W to bring this magic wand, or you can select this tool right there and we have that selected. So this is what we want to affect, but we haven't selected the color yet. So I have attached these floor plan resources below. If you're interested, be sure to download them and begin to follow along. So we will drag and drop it in here along this bar, and here it is. So the way we are going to use this material is by making it a pattern. So let's go and go to edit and define pattern, and that is sliding wood texture, and we save it. So there, when we come back here, we can select this layer and be sure that that selection is still on. Go to this icon here and we fill it with a pattern, and by default you can see the pattern that is present. So when we go here on this drop down, you can see the pattern that we have just created and we select it and it's added automatically. We obviously need to change the orientation of this and we can make it 90 degrees, which is showing correctly right there, and the scale of it is a bit different. It's wrong, so we need something that's bigger. So we can begin to increase this slider, this percentage, and you can see it's showing correctly. And I found out about 250 works out just fine for this very example. So I will say OK, and we have ourselves a texture. So the next texture that we need to add is the one below. So like we did, select this layer beneath, hit W for the magic wand tool, and then we have that selected. Grab this folder for the material, drop the grass in along this bar, and it is shown here. Go to edit, define pattern, and you have this grass. Save it, and in the base floor plan we can come here where we fill in and we fill in the pattern, which in this case is going to be our grass. And as usual, we can adjust the scale of this. It's a bit way too big. About 50 should be able to work, 50% smaller, something like that. Say OK, and we have ourselves a grass texture. And that's what we are going to do for the rest of the things. Select the base layer, hit W to select this area, and I have them saved in order not to bore you all day with the same process. So I will go in and fill in pattern, and I already have it here as this one right here, and I can adjust my scale to something smaller, and about 5 is pretty good for this example. Okay, next is this walkable space. Select the lower layer, W, have it selected, and we are adding in this selection. No problem, we can hit M for the marquee tool or this first here, and with Alt selected we can remove this selection, and we have that selected. Go in here, this icon, and add pattern. Select the pattern that we want to see, adjust the scale to something that we feel will work, and we say okay. So the same thing is going to happen for this very carpet pattern fill, and it's right there. And I closed it before I adjusted the scale. That's way too big. About 45, I think 50, 45 is a good scale. I'll go with 50. Great. We can put some leather on these spaces that are going to be sat on. So on those seats, we will add a leather pattern for the fabric. Let's see, is that good? Maybe 50% smaller. Yeah, great. And that's the same thing for the area where these guys are going to enjoy here. Hold down Shift to add sections and add the pattern that we discussed. And I actually think that scale is good, pretty good. And there we are. And now it's time to tweak these things to our liking. And I think I could adjust some of this grass. So hold W to select it. I think I like to add a bit of a solid color feel of a green which is lighter. And in order to show this, I think I might need to place this just a bit above the grass. I need something like that. So I will put it beneath the grass and have the grass show through a bit. Show it through by reducing the opacity. Yeah, that looks good. We can also tweak this pattern. We can decide to add a bit of curves adjustment in order to make it a little bit more contrasted. So we can come here and make it lighter. Just make sure that you click here in order to affect what is just beneath. So add a clipping mask such that when we are just affecting that area only. So let's put in a bit of dark. Yes, create a sine curve, and this thing will look a bit more vibrant and nice. So you can even reduce the opacity if it's becoming too much. But I think I like it. You can tweak even others that we have added in as well, but that's enough demonstration. The next thing I like to show you is let's add in the shadows. So let's make this layer show, which is on top, and that is what we have. And in order to make the places where the shadows are show up, we need to change the blend mode from normal to multiply. And look at that. And that is just about enough. And you can go with this one if you're happy. But you will not go with this one, will you? There's a lot more we can do to the drawing. We don't like this couch which is here. It is a bit too rigid. Yeah, you could go with that one, but I have attached a better one for you. Drag and drop it in. And it's a bit too small. We can scale it up, move it to place, and I think that's pretty good. So click OK, and while the layer is selected, we can press V and move it sideways and upward in order to perfectly conceal that one. And it's looking realistic because it's taking its shadow and it's almost similar to the size shape. And I have better plans for you guys, so let's drop them in. Well, this one Holding Alt, we can scale it just a bit down, move it to this place. I think it's still way too big. We can scale it a bit more down there, and that's just about it. Press OK to place it, and with it selected, you can Shift Alt to drag horizontally and about there. So Shift Alt to make the third copy. We can drop in this one for the plants that are sitting here on these segmented columns. Scale them down, zoom in a bit until you're happy, place them, and then we can Shift Alt to drag a copy vertically to that place. Another exciting thing is the fire or the flame, so we can set our project ablaze. So let's drag and drop it in. Ooh, it's burning already. So let's scale this down, obviously, move it to where it's supposed to be, and the chimney is gonna be on fire. Let's rotate and move it. I think this scale is good, so we can place it, and obviously we need to add a mask, reduce the opacity so we are able to see where the chimney should be. And we can also, using this base layer, press W to get the magic wand, select that area because we know that it's this same base color. So go up here, with this layer selected, we can create a mask, and it's done. And now we can take back the opacity to 100 and it's ablaze. But we can make it even better with this thing called a lens flare. So let's drop it in, and I like the scale of it. We can keep it, place it, and we need to change its blend mode from normal to screen. And look at that, it's blazing already. One more thing is this material here, which is this fourth fill we added. We can change it to multiply because it's a bit too light. Yeah, that looks better. This couch here, we can add a little bit of curves to make it a bit brighter. It's way too dull. Just add a clipping mask such that it affects only the couch, and we can make it a bit more contrasted. Yes, this becomes a little darker, and a little bit of vibrance on the other side. Say okay, that looks better. For these plants also, we can select the three, put them in a group. Maybe we can say planter 1, and then we add an adjustment layer for curves, make it a bit more, contrasted. Of course, make sure to clip it, and let's see. I think it starts to fit in here a bit better if we put it on top of these. Yeah, so here's the before, here's the after, just a little bit of it, and it's making it stand out. And so are these top scissors. Group them. Maybe these are planter category 2. We add a curves layer to them to make them a bit contrasted, add a clipping mask, and we contrast it just a bit more. Yeah, I think I like that. Before, after, just a little thing, but it adds a bit of detail. And to make it even more believable, you can see that some of this is supposed to be in shadow because of the shadow of this, and so is here. So with these curves, we can add a mask to it and press B for the brush and make sure that we have it set to black. So hit X to change that, and let's see if we paint black around this area, set the brush to a bit smoother and smaller, X to keep this one there, and then Yeah, it's a small tiny details, but they really do make a difference. So before, after, so we have this part lighter and this side darker. Okay, and that goes with these ones here. The planter group 1, we can add a mask, a layer mask, and hit B for the brush, and we can make some of these parts darker. We keep them dark, and the portion that's exposed to light, we keep it light. Yeah, before, after, small thing, but it makes a difference. So another thing that is going to take this thing to another level is thinking about these shadows. They're a bit too sharp in the way they terminate. So with this shadow layer selected, we want to create a mask that is going to do something here. Let's fade these shadows and make them a little bit more realistic. So with that selected, press M and we limit whatever we're going to do to this layer. Press B for the brush, and let's increase a bit of the size of the brush and make it softer. Yeah, let's leave the hardness to 0. We can even increase it to make it huge. That's way too huge. Maybe about 1,000. Yeah, that's good. And we can begin to fade this to make the hard part disappear, because naturally that's what would happen for our shadow. Yeah, Ctrl D to deselect. We can press M, and maybe this time we can affect this part right there. So just make sure that you have more of the same selected so we don't have hard edges. I think we can just affect just that. Press B, and then yeah, we begin to do that. But as we're doing that, we have lost the shadow which was here. No worries, we can mark you again by pressing M and bring back this area with B. Press X to go back to the white and bring that back. Ctrl D to deselect. And I think that's a bit more believable for a shadow. So we can continue to do that for the rest of the parts. So let's bring in this tree, scale it down a bit and put it around this area. Now that's where it would look good. And obviously it has no shadow, so we can create our own. So Ctrl Shift N for a new layer. We can name it tree shadow. Yes. Pick our brush. Take the color to black and use a soft brush, and yeah, we need something like that. Of course, it needs to be below the tree itself, and change the blend mode to multiply and reduce the opacity, yeah, to make it a bit more believable. We have improved it. So finally, we can tie this thing together with some adjustments. So we can Ctrl Shift Alt E to get just one layer of all of this and add a few things like a curves layer to make everything a bit more, you know, contrasted and stuff. Yeah. We can try some color balance in order to make it just a bit less yellow. I think, yeah, that's good. In the mid-tones. That's good. And we can also add maybe a color lookup, and you can check through them, just going through and see what you like, kind of. soft warming looks quite crisp. So we can reduce a bit of it so we have more showing up. It's showing up and it looks good. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe not to miss this awesome stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.